Hi, I'm Dave Dinkel with a 2-Minute Tip Special Series. Now the question that comes up very oftentimes, I'm afraid of writing contracts. Well, okay. If you're going to be in this business, or any business where you have to sign a contract, you need to become familiar with the clauses in the contract and what happens if you don't do something. Real advantage of a contract is it can be changed. Whatever state you're in, you have a board of realtors and a bar association that get together and either issue their own contracts separately or a combined contract, and usually it's every 18 months or so. And it makes changes in the contract. Those people make changes. Who are they there to protect? The seller? The buyer? No, they're there to protect themselves. So you need to look at the contract, but here's the huge benefit. Once you understand contracting, which is very simple because you're going to read it or someone's going to read it to you, all you have to do is add a clause or an addendum, and it changes anything in the written contract. And you send in an REO contract. One of the things you should know immediately is if you put any clauses in there, if your guru said to you, last minute inspect, any clause that's going to get you out of that contract, it's not going to work because you're going to get back an addendum, as the REO company calls it, the lender, but it's not an addendum. It's actually a new contract, just called an addendum. And what it does, it overwrites anything you put in there. So don't get ahead of yourself on doing REOs and think you're going to put in clever clauses and beat the bank. So what about writing contracts? You can override anything and change it. You've probably heard me say this, and this comes up more and more frequently. One of the things that scares people is the closing date is on or before April 15th. We don't use that. We don't use on or before unless we're selling the property. When we're the seller and the buyer comes in, it's closing on or before. What we do is we use the words closing on or about April 15th. When is about April 15th? I don't know. It depends on when you're ready to close. Now, we just had one of those come up, and the seller said, gee, I got a better offer. And the student said, what do I do? And I said, well, find out how much better the offer is, and then split it with the seller. Tell them you'll void your contract, otherwise you're going to closing. We didn't quite have a buyer in hand, so we may not have gone to closing, but we had plenty of time to find a buyer. And the student came away making money without having to actually close on the transaction. You have extraordinary leverage by adding clauses. If you're saying to yourself, well, what if they're not accepted by the seller? Then they're not accepted by the seller. You're going to go on to the next one. I'm not going to make this into too long a 2-minute tip. Yeah, sure. But I had a student out of state come to me and say, I found this property. 3 realtors went to see the seller, and one told her 435, one told her 415, and the other told her 410. I want to offer 330. How can I get her to take 330? Here's the clue. If she's not motivated, she's not going to take 330 or 40 or 50 or 390. She's going to believe the sales techniques that the agent used. And he probably said to her, you may have to come down a few grand, but don't worry, I have pocket buyers. I don't even have to list it on the MLS. I have pocket buyers. Now that's a major trend in the industry, where in fact you do have pocket buyers as realtors. Who are they? They're investors. What advantage do you have over a listing agent when the listing agent can get full retail market value for the property? Well, if you don't have a motivated seller, you can't even compete. If you have a motivated seller, the leverage you have is you can close with cash quickly. That's it. You can say, well, I'm a really nice guy, my wife is pretty that goes with me. That matters. But it doesn't matter enough if you're going to get a $60 or $80 or $40 or $30,000 price reduction below what she could get or he could get, listing it on the MLS and waiting and waiting and waiting to sell it. So I've said it 1,000 times before, and I'm going to say it again. The most important thing that you can do to say to a seller is, why are you selling? That's probably the only time they're going to tell you the truth. The rest of the time they're going to lie trying to sell you the property. When they tell you, I'm selling because they want empathy for a problem. If they don't have a problem, you don't have a solution. If they have a problem, that's where you get paid for providing a solution. That's what we do in real estate investing. See you in the next 2-minute tips. Don't worry about contract clauses.